off, or would you like me to?
Go ahead, Kenny. Thanks.
All right, thank you, sir. This is Kenny Closter, and I'm a Greater Mankato Rotarian as well as District Governor nominee, which means that I'm going to follow in the very large footsteps of Paul Perez and Ed Merrick. And my duty here today is to, welcome you to our Friday feature, and I'm going to introduce our guest speaker today. Probably someone who does not need an introduction, but tough luck, I'm going to do it anyway. Kyle Haugen. He's been a member of the Prior Lake Rotary Club since 2003, including being the past president. He was our past district governor of our district, 5960, in 2017-18. And interesting tidbit, he was the youngest governor in the world that year. He currently serves as the Zone 28 Assistant Rotary Public Image Coordinator. He's finishing his first year of a 3-year term as the District Rotary Foundation team leader. He's married to a saint, Carrie, and 2 beautiful children, Cooper, who's 4.5, and Quinn, who's 2. He's co-owner of Haugen Insurance and Financial Solutions with his father, Jack, also a longtime Rotarian. Kyle's passionate about making the world a better place and feels Rotary can help do that. And lest you think Kyle does not walk the walk, he certainly does. He is a member of the Bequest Society. He's a Paul Harris Society member, a multi-Paul Harris Fellow recipient, and probably most importantly, my friend. Kyle, take it away.
Thanks, Kenny. And thanks for everybody being on here this morning. These Friday features are a great way to stay connected to each other in these interesting times, which I guess that's kind of a blessing with everything else. About a month and about 5 weeks ago, Paul Perez and I were driving down to Pets, and I said, well, I think one good thing will come out of this, and that's we've talked for years about utilizing technology better, and I think we're doing that now out of necessity. So hopefully these types of things continue. Now, the one either positive or negative about it is doing these from home. When you have small children, you'll probably, if you've been on a webinar over the last couple of weeks with me, you may see Cooper or Quinn come in. You may hear them in the background. We don't really know what's going to happen today, but I'll share my screen here because I do have some things from that perspective, and I just want to, yep, okay, I got the right one. Got it. Okay. Today, what we want to talk about is the Rotary Foundation, and Paul asked me to talk about this, and it's something that we obviously all hold near and dear to us as Rotarians. And I think, one question that we get a lot as Rotarians is what do we do as Rotarians? And you may have heard me say this, but it's a very difficult question to answer because we do so many different things. And certainly we've probably all been asked that question, or we've asked it ourselves, what do we do? And to summarize it succinctly is very difficult because we do so many different things. And one of the things that I like to think about we do is we create peace. Now, you can look at that and say, well, wait a second. Peace is the absence of war or violence. So we do a lot more than that. And you're right. And if you look at peace as only that definition, maybe it's kind of the wrong definition. In fact, the Institute of Economics for Peace calls that negative peace, which I don't think is a negative connotation, but it's only looking at the absence of something. Instead, what I like to think about and what the IEP thinks about is the positive peace, which is the fulfillment of all needs in a society. And isn't that really what we do? We make a difference by creating positive peace in our neighborhoods and around the world. And the Rotary Foundation helps maximize our efforts doing that. And the biggest way we do that is through the Rotary Foundation's 6 areas of focus. And today we're going to talk about how all 6 of those areas of focus really lead towards that positive peace. Now, I put them in this order because it's very easy to start with the first one, which is peace and conflict resolution. And certainly we do that throughout our district with different grants. A number of years ago, Ann Frisch spearheaded a St. Paul Rotary grant to help train people as nonviolent peacemakers to end conflict in southern Thailand. A great way to make a more peaceful environment. More locally, Prior Lake Rotary Club did a grant last year that provided upgrades at the Link Passageways shelter for victims of trafficking. Certainly a huge way to create more peace in the lives of those people and to end conflict in their lives. Now, let's turn peace on its side, though, and talk about the rest of the areas of focus and how they lead to positive peace. The P in peace can stand for prevention of disease. Certainly, that's one of Rotary's biggest areas, with polio eradication being our #1 priority. And we've done a lot of great things over the last about 35 years with regards to polio eradication. And what you may not realize is the key role that we play in the Global Polio Eradication Initiative with other organizations, the World Health Organization, UNICEF, the Centers for Disease Control, the Gates Foundation, and now NAVI, the International Vaccine Alliance, has come on board as well. But we're all working together to do great things and eradicate a disease. And we've done great work. If you go back to 1988, 120 plus endemic countries in the world where the spread of polio had never been stopped, and over 350,000 cases annually. Think about the lives impacted if 350,000 people are contracting polio each year. This year, once we get some good news in Nigeria, we'll be down to 2 countries. Pakistan and Afghanistan as the only endemic countries. Nigeria has gone more than 3 years on that list, which many of you know. And in June, they will come off the endemic list. Less than 150 cases now worldwide. And that number actually jumped last year in 2019 from about 35 to 150. Now, you may look at that and say, well, that's a step backwards. But really, I think it's a step backwards to take a big leap forward, because the main reason for that is that we identified a number of new cases in Pakistan. And the reason we identified those cases is because there was a change in leadership in the Pakistani government. And now they are more on board to eradicate polio. So they gave us access to areas that we hadn't been in previously. And so when we went into those areas to be able to immunize more people, well, what do you think we found there? We found more cases. So as a matter of being able to have greater monitoring and greater reach of providing polio vaccine, that we saw those cases. So while it's a little bit of a step backwards, I think it's poising us to make a big leap forward. We should all be proud of that. And it's not just about polio, though. If it was just about polio, we'd call it polio. But it's polio plus for a reason, because of the other things we're doing and the other vaccines.
A couple minutes.
The other things we're providing along the way, such as malaria drops to people, or everything else that helps eliminate a disease. In fact, the polio infrastructure was critical in parts of Africa with the Ebola outbreak a few years ago, because the way that we have that infrastructure set up to identify different tracking mechanisms, they were able to use that for Ebola and shut that down. It's now being used with coronavirus to help, basically we're leveraging the polio infrastructure to enhance our communication in countries and to help monitor the spread of coronavirus and to help identify outbreaks and everything. So certainly we all know that with disease, it creates a lack of peace in people's lives. So our prevention of disease area of focus definitely leads towards positive peace. The next, for E, is education and basic literacy, which we do a lot of different ways. We all know that providing education to kids and to adults and teaching people to read gives them more abilities in their lives so they can have better lives for themselves. And that's what we do. And certainly better lives for those people creates positive peace. The Rochester clubs have worked together to create My Book Day, providing books and other literacy related programs in Rochester to raise the level of reading competency there, which will have a significant impact on the community as a whole over time. Twin Cities Rotaract a couple years ago did a grant to provide books, a book shipment to Africa in partnership with Books for Africa. So this isn't just local, but we work on education and literacy around the world. And again, teaching kids to read, giving them the tools, enabling them is going to help them make better decisions to affect their lives and their families' lives. The A in peace, and I have to cheat on this one a little bit, stands for agua, for water, sanitation, and hygiene. And that's certainly a huge way that we can benefit the lives of people around the world. This isn't a grant in our district, but I took these pictures when I was in India 16 months ago at a school in Agra. This school, without running water, it's not uncommon like anywhere else in the world. When there's not safe bathroom facilities for girls, they stop going to school when they start menstruating because there aren't safe facilities. This school in particular, before this Rotary grant that built this, this bathroom facility that has running water as well, there were 40 girls that went to the school. Now, 2 years later, there are 400 girls that go to that school. Huge impact that providing water, sanitation, and hygiene facilities has on kids, especially girls, so they can not only be safe, but they can continue to learn. We do this here in our district too. The New Richmond Club this year just did a latrine and hand washing station installation project at a school in a village in Panama. Think about the impact of those kids on the screen. Think about how their lives are going to be more positively impacted by having not only safe facilities to go to the bathroom, but to have a hand washing station, which will eliminate or reduce the amount of germs and disease that may be there as well. And it's not just internationally that we can look at these grants. We can look like Rosemount did a few years ago and did a grant to provide a Cody's Closet at Rosemount High School. Cody's Closet is something that it's basically a hygiene product closet for kids that need those products so they can be healthier and safer in their own lives here in our backyard as well. So certainly providing those opportunities to people provides for more positive peace in their lives. The C in peace, child and maternal health. And we certainly see this when babies don't die and moms survive childbirth, it's a more peaceful environment for everybody. We look at a couple grant examples we've done. The Hudson Rotary Club this past year partnered with International Village Clinic, which a lot of us are aware of. International Village Clinic works in one of the poorest parts of India and is led by Dr. Abul Shara, who is a Bloomington Rotarian. So he spends half of the year here and half of the year in India. But what a huge impact International Village Clinic has had on that community over the last 10 to 15 years. In fact, before the clinic started, women had to go literally give birth in the fields. Think about the survival rate for both moms and babies when that's happening. Now with proper facilities to monitor a pregnancy, to provide nutrition, and to safely deliver the babies, the survival rate has increased exponentially. The St. Paul Rotary Club this year, and I know Ken Crabb, St. Paul Rotarian, is on the call here today, and this one's closer to home for me as well. But St. Paul Rotary Club is in the process of completing a grant to provide an ultrasound machine in the Nabaheki refugee camp in Rwanda. Ken visited that camp 2 Novembers ago, and spoke with the one doctor on call there. This is a camp of about 30,000 people, and the clinic also serves the host communities. So well past 30,000 people go to this clinic, and they have one doctor on call. And Ken asked, what could we do to help you? And he said, we could really use a ultrasound machine. And so St. Paul Rotary has done a grant to do that. Last June, I got to spend a day in Nautaheki refugee camp as well. The doctor is an amazing person, and what they're doing to provide health and well-being to refugees who aren't there for any decision of their own, but they had to leave a dangerous environment, basically stay at home and die, or leave everything behind to live. Providing ultrasound machine and all the technology and things that can come with that certainly are going to help not only pregnant mothers, but the whole population is large. And we do this in our own backyard as well. River Falls last year, I think, refurbished Turning Point's women's shelter, which is for domestic violence victims. So certainly providing positive peace in the lives of people through child and maternal health each and every time we do a grant like that. Economic development is the last E, and certainly that's a great way to provide positive peace in the lives of people as well. The Lakeville Club has done a couple of microloan projects in the Iringa area in Tanzania. The first one they did, and I have to read some of these statistics because they're awesome. They provided microloans to 774 families. That was a $206,000 grant that yielded $350,000 worth of income. That income was used to send 1,000 kids to school. It built or improved 150 houses. It created 121 full-time and 1,677 part-time jobs. And in Iringa, the general population, the malnutrition rate is 28%. Among the borrowers, it's 0. Think about the positive peace that was created in the lives of the people that were able to utilize those loans to better provide for themselves and their families. The Arden Hills Shoreview Rotary Club last year did a grant to build a sewing school in India. Again, teaching people skills so they can make better lives for themselves. What a great way to bring positive peace to an environment. So that's how we create positive peace. We do it up every day in everything we do as Rotarians, because all the 6 areas of focus and everything we do, we're making the lives of people better, meaning we're bringing positive peace to our neighborhoods and around the world. Now, we have an issue right now in our district, and any of you that have been involved in a grant over the last 4 or 5 years know what I'm talking about, and that's we have a shortfall of funds. As you know, the Rotary Foundation, the grant funds we have available come from our giving to the Rotary Foundation, and right now, the funds the money that we're giving each year doesn't equate 3 years later to the grant requests that we get. So we can do one of two things: either ask clubs to stop doing the wonderful work like I've just highlighted, or ask for more money from our members. And so it's kind of that question of can the Rotary Foundation be one of your charities of choice? And there's several good reasons for this that I think put the Rotary Foundation at the top of the list. Number one, it's efficient and effective. I think most of us know the statistics, but Charity Navigator, one of the premier charitable organization rating agencies, we've had 12 years of a perfect rating with them. And last year, when they put together their list of the top 10 charities that everybody's heard of, the Rotary Foundation was number 1. Why is that? Because we take really good care of our donors' money. And when we're giving to organizations, isn't that what we want it to do? We want as much of a dollar to go to making a difference as possible, and the Rotary Foundation does that. Number 2, you have a say in where the money goes. There's so many organizations that we all give to that once we give to them, we hope that they put it to best use in the way they see fit. But with the Rotary Foundation, we have a say through our grants process and being able to participate in things like the district grants team or in other ways where we have an actual say in how those dollars are used. When we put together those grants that our clubs put together that I highlighted before, that's you all having a say in how those funds are spent. And I think that's a powerful message to be able to not only give, but to be part of the implementation end of things too. And certainly with a network of 1.2 million Rotarians and several 100,000 Rotaractors and the broad reach that Rotary has around the world and all partnering together, it just increases the impact that we have because we're all working together. When we all give to the Rotary Foundation, we're doing good internationally, whether we're making it control of that or not. So very quickly, how to give to the Rotary Foundation. There's 4 ways really that you can give. The best way to give right now is online through Rotary Direct, because right now with Rotary Foundation staff working from home, any donations that are mailed in right now are not being processed very quickly. So the best thing you can do is to go to myrotary.org and contribute that way, and encourage your club members to do that as well. If you're not sure how to do that, please reach out to me or Kathy Hewitt, and we'd be happy to share how to do that. And it's not just about giving, but it's considering how much to give. And we like to encourage maybe 3 different ways or 3 different levels to give from. Number 1 is our E-Ray, every Rotarian every year. Just give something. If we could get every Rotarian in our district to give something, imagine the impact we could have in the lives of others. If it fits for you, $1 a day. That comes up to $365 a year, or about $30 a month. But $1 a day, I know I spend much worse money than that on a daily basis. And if you have the means to do that, it's a great way to help. And then Paul Harris Society, which is giving $1,000 each in Rotary a year that you're able to. It's making a commitment to do that. It's not $1,000 a year. It comes up to about $20 a month. In fact, it's just or $20 per week, excuse me. In fact, it's actually a few dollars less than that. And again, $20 a week, I know I spend much more money on much less important things than helping change the world. The different recognition opportunities, most of us know this stuff, but for every $1,000 you give to the Rotary Foundation, you're honored with a Paul Harris Fellowship. And that doesn't mean you only get one. You can keep getting them up until you're a major donor. Paul Harris Society, I mentioned that a minute ago, the $1,000 per year. And the major donor, once you've given $10,000 cumulatively, you're a major donor. And there's special recognition that comes with that and different opportunities that the Rotary Foundation provide. And then our Bequest Society, which is setting aside money in your will or estate towards to go to Rotary when you pass away. So those are different recognition opportunities, but it's not about the money and it's not about the recognition. It's about the positive peace we're creating in the lives of others. We're growing local economies, teaching kids to read, preventing disease, providing clean water and safe sanitation facilities, preventing mothers and babies from dying, and creating peace, both negative and positive. That's what the Rotary Foundation does, and that's why you should be proud of the efforts that we've done over time. Now, we mentioned coronavirus earlier, and I know that we sent communication out that we talk about that a little bit today, both the response by our district and Rotary International as well. First, and these are other ways that we're helping create peace in communities far and wide. First, at an international level, a couple years ago, the Rotary Foundation trustees established a disaster response fund. This was originally intended to deal with natural disasters in our communities because there wasn't really a way, with the way grants work, to provide quick need or quick solutions to immediate needs in communities that are affected by natural disasters, nor did we have, as Rotary Foundation, did we have a place where people could donate there. So they created this disaster response fund. Districts can request grants to be used in their communities, and so the funds are then controlled by the districts. As coronavirus has affected the world, the Rotary Foundation has utilized the disaster response fund for COVID-related response. In fact, last month, the trustees moved $3 million from the World Fund to the disaster response fund for grants that districts can apply for, and have been encouraging donations to that disaster response fund as well. In fact, just this morning, or yesterday and this morning, I've gotten communication that on May 2nd, the Rotary Foundation is doing a Rotary Response Facebook Live telethon in the hopes of raising $1 million for the disaster response fund to be used for COVID-related activities. So here in our district, what are we doing? We're doing two different things, and we're utilizing Rotary funds in a couple different ways. First, we applied for a grant from that disaster response fund, and we received that. You can request up to $25,000, and that's what we did. The purpose of this grant is to allow our clubs to use Rotary Foundation funds to meet community needs. And here are some of the details. I mentioned it's a $25,000 grant. Clubs have the opportunity to request between $500 and $2,500 worth of money from this fund, and clubs are asked to contribute at least $100. When I say it must meet the disaster response requirements, because this is a Rotary Foundation project, obviously the Rotary Foundation has eligible and ineligible projects that can be done, and they have to meet those, obviously. Like, it can't be it can't just be a donation to a general fund for an organization. It has to go to a specific purpose within that organization. The deadline for these requests is May 1st. Now, doing the math there, you may say, okay, we got $25,000 and clubs can request up to $2,500. How does that work? Number one, we know that probably every club won't make a request, but we don't know exactly how many clubs are going to make a request by that May 1st deadline, but we're going to make sure every club gets at least something. So if we had 50 clubs in our district request funds, everybody's probably going to get $500, because we want to make sure that impact goes to as many people as possible, throughout our district there. But we encourage you, if your club hasn't submitted a request yet, please do. You'll be guaranteed some money, not necessarily all of it, depending on the response. The other thing we're doing is a district-sponsored grant, and this is to work together to create a significant impact for some regional organizations in our district. How this is working? We have some leftover district designated funds available this year because some of the grants that we've done haven't been able to be completed. So we have just over $16,000 of funds available. And we're asking clubs to contribute to this pot as well, so to speak, and to make a contribution to the district, so that we as a district, as all of us, not just the district, but remember, the district represents 60 plus clubs and over 2,700 members. So this is all of us working together to make a significant impact to 3 organizations who, between the 3 of them, cover 100% of our district, and each of them individually have significant footprints in our district, those being Second Harvest Heartland and Channel 1, which are the 2 regional food banks that encompass all of the communities in our district. Now, you may not know that one of those works in your district, but like Second Harvest supports several organizations that are on the ground in Prior Lake. So think of it as the regional food bank is a level above the local organizations that are helping our communities. So by giving to those organizations, we're helping all of us. And similarly with the YMCA of the Greater Twin Cities, which doesn't cover 100% of our district, but a huge percentage of our communities as well. So I think by doing these two things, and if we could get clubs in our district, all of them to contribute even the amount we're giving them for the disaster response grants, combined between these two programs, we're going to be able to say that the Rotarians in District 5960 have contributed over $50,000 in our communities to help those who've been most affected by COVID-19. And that's something that I'm very proud of, because think about the positive piece that we're creating in the lives of people in that perspective. So throughout this presentation, I've talked about how we create positive peace. And I think our efforts to deal with coronavirus are an immediate example, but certainly we've shown a lot of examples of how we create positive peace. So I hope that you have a better understanding now about how we create positive peace in Rotarians in many ways, and how the Rotary Foundation helps maximize our impact in doing that. I would ask you to help us create that peace and make the Rotary Foundation one of your charities of choice, and be a champion in your club so you can encourage others as well. Thank you for your partnership with the Rotary Foundation. Because of you, we maximize our impact, creating positive peace in our neighborhoods and around the world. And with that, I'm going to close my screen and would be happy to take any questions from anyone. Anne Frisch has her hand raised. Anne, go ahead, mute yourself or unmute yourself, I guess, and would love to hear your question.
Not a question, but a comment. I was really proud of our senior officers at RI. Our former president, Robin. I can't
say Ravi. Ravi is fine.
Yes, and Holger Nacht were in Pakistan to reach out to the president, did have a meeting with him and the military to move forward the polio campaign and to get more children, and got promises. Unfortunately, I think the coronavirus will impact that tremendously, and we have Ramadan now. So it's going to be very, very hard in Pakistan for people to have to choose between their very deeply held, deep religious beliefs and the needs of their community to stay safe. So anyway, I just want to hand it to them for their courage and their outreach.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dan, and that's one of the things that Rotary is able to do with polio eradication worldwide is not only in our own countries, we're able to lobby governments more than if this was a governmental entity otherwise, but they certainly, senior leadership in Rotary does meet with world leaders on this as well. I've had different conversations. One of them, I remember Dr. Bob Scott, who was a longtime chair of Rotary's Polio Plus Committee. I think he's made 6 or 7 trips to Pakistan over the years to lobby the government for more funding and more action from that perspective. So certainly, while we may not be doing everything, there's a lot of lobbying that goes into play there. Dave Schaefer has a question. Do donations to the Disaster Response Fund at Rotary or at the Rotary Foundation count towards Paul Harris recognition? Dave, yes, they do. They do count towards your giving. They count towards our district's overall per capita giving, or our club's per capita giving. However, those funds do not count for the money that comes back to our district in 3 years. And so that's it's more immediate needs to help with disaster response grants around the world. So, and that's part of the reason that we took that that the outstanding DDF that we have right now and said, let's put it to use here and encourage clubs in our district to contribute along with that, so we can make more impact here in our community, rather than, we could have taken that $16,000 and donated it to the disaster response fund. But our district Rotary Foundation leadership and our district governor line decided, let's put more work on our shoulders to create a grant here in our district, so we can help solve more local immediate needs than elsewhere. So I want to reiterate, it's not, in fact, I'm going to go back a slide here. Not that I have that up on my screen anymore, but I want to share this anyway again. We'll go back one slide. We have two parts of our disaster response here. Obviously, the grants that you can request from the district for that $500 to $2,500, but also that district sponsored grant on the right side of your screen that will go to those three beneficial organizations. And we'd love for your clubs to contribute to that, let's call it pot or grant as well. And that can be $500. It can be whatever the club can afford. Just know that it's being put to good use for great organizations. You know, if it's 500, 1,000, 2,500, I'm going to be ecstatic anyway, and will obviously provide great thanks to your clubs in recognition for that at the time. But this is us all working together to impact people in our communities. So I kind of answered two questions there at once. I got another question privately to me, but Dave, I hope that answers your question on the disaster response fund and how that counts for our personal giving credit. It does, but we don't control where those dollars are being spent the same way as we're doing with our grant here locally. So, any other questions from anyone? Anything else? All right. Paul, as governor, you have anything to share here?
Great job, Kyle. And thank you for that.
Paul, we did get one more question here from Mike Spellman in Arden Hills Shoreview, I believe. The deadline for grant applications still next Friday. Yes, for both of these. The deadline to just either request funds from the disaster response grant on the left, or to just acknowledge what the contribution will be to the district sponsored grant on the right. We'd love to have them by next Friday, May 1st. And part of the reason for that is, number one, we want to get this money out into the communities as fast as possible. Number two, and Paul, you might be promoting this in a second, but I'm going to promote it anyway, is next Friday night, we have our virtual conference of clubs, a special night of connecting with John Hugo and Tiffany Irvin. I'll let Paul talk more about that. But one of the things that I'd like to do that night is to be able to make an announcement about how much between the disaster response grants that our clubs are applying for and that district sponsored grant, what the amount will be for that. So that and to be able to say, especially in front of the General Secretary of Rotary International, members in our district have contributed over $50,000, whatever the number is. That's powerful. That's powerful. One last thing I will say for grants next year, this is more of an announcement, but your club has to be qualified to do a grant for next year. And one of the ways you get qualified is attending a grants management seminar. We've had 2 of the 3 so far. The last one is tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And it takes just a little over an hour. But if your club hasn't had anyone participate and you're planning on a grant for next year, please register for that at our district website under the foundation tab. So, Paul, now back to you.
Thank you. I reached out to a couple of the organizations, actually all three. I've heard back from two of them, Second Harvest and also YMC of the Greater Twin Cities. Talked about what we're doing, our initiative, and trying to raise money for them. And they're so appreciative of anything we can give them. So it's going to be great for all of us that we can support what they're doing to support COVID in the various communities around the district. And then as Kyle said, next Friday, please tune in, register, join us. It's going to be a wonderful night. Besides the two speakers, we'll have other things planned, and it'll be fun, inspirational, and great to connect with more people within the district and then outside of the district as well. So thank you, and register if you haven't already. I'll turn it back over to Kenny.
Thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate that. Kyle, thank you as always. Very timely topic. Any further questions? If not, I think we will go ahead and call her quits for today.
This is Kathy Hewitt. We did have a question on where to send the donations. Do you want that to be sent to the district office? Do you want them to send a pledge in first via email?